If you've ever read any of like the Chinese philosophy, they speak about virtue all of the time. I remember I would read it when I was young and I would vaguely understand it, but I think now I'm kind of coming to understand what they meant by it. And virtue, that's it could almost be a somewhat of subjective word. In this context, I'd probably like to put it as the greater good, maybe. Good, clean, moral character, good, clean, moral actions, etc. And it doesn't mean being weak. If someone just say walks up to you and yells at you, the virtuous action I don't see is just walking away and taking that. I think discipline of others is one of the most virtuous things, and it is a painful thing. Assumingly if you have a child or something, or a pet, or even like a family member, and they do something wrong, do you just kind of look at them with glazed over eyes and think, oh geez, I really don't want to be mean, I don't want to cause trouble or something? Or do you say something? And of course your ability to say something is dependent on your place in the hierarchy. You get kicked out of the tribe if you walk up to the village chief and you say you probably shouldn't be doing that. Of course, if you have a reasonable village chief and maybe they were overcome by a bout of, bad spirits, so to speak, a bad, time, then they might thank you. But chances are, well, we all probably know what's going to happen. But at least, anything under your responsibility. It's like if you've got a dog that you just keeps barking. It's not good. You can't let that happen. Or you've got a child that's running amok, whatever. The cultivation of virtue, the growing of virtue, essentially, within yourself, is more for yourself than it is for others. It's really to give you peace of mind in a way. The reason you do good things, you do good work, you be a good person, you don't, cause trouble if you're not, within reason, sometimes you've got to cause trouble, of course, is to give yourself peace of mind. It's so when you go to sleep at night, you don't have to be, writhing around in agony thinking about the bad things that happened. It's so when you're, traveling on the road or whatever, you don't have to think about whatever bad things that you may have done or such. And of course, some people have very little conscience, I should say, not conscious. Well, some people do have little consciousness as well. But some people, I believe the word you call them like a sociopath, have little conscience, meaning they don't really feel or have any kind of repercussion of what they do, of evil actions. The more sensitive you are, the more of a conscience you probably will have. Because, say, if you hurt another person, you're going to feel their pain as strongly, if not maybe even more strongly than they will feel it, because they might be blocking it off, which is why you gotta be careful, I guess. But sometimes you can't always be, nice to people, can't always be good to people. Goodness grows, badness restricts. I find that the older I get, the more I kind of have to be like a role model, or like a, protector, a maintainer and such of society. So you've got the two hands of virtue. You've got the hand which gives and the hand which takes. The hand which grows and the hand which destroys. If people are doing wrong things in society, usually it is a stronger, older, usually more masculine presence that will be able to contend with that. We've kind of represented that and given the role of that through the police officer. Of course, corruption in these kind of roles is very possible. and it's almost very common, sadly. But someone's got to be there to pull out the weeds and to trim the ends, so to speak. But going back onto the more positive, the more good ends of being virtuous. As I said, there's some people that are just evil, and these people are not virtuous at all. They are the opposite of virtue. And there's some ideas where the more evil there is, the more good there is to counter. The more good there is, the more evil there is to counter. I don't believe in that at all. I think I've seen places where evil reigns. And if there was a strong enough force of good, it would overcome and conquer it. The same way that if you create a place where good reigns, you need to be there to clean up all the evil. You can't let your house get dirty, so to speak. You've got to maintain it and fix it, because it is the force of evil which is the destructive, again, the archetypal destroying force. And of course, as I said, there needs to be sometimes things need to be destroyed, but you can't let your good things get destroyed. You can't let yourself fall down and never rise again, I guess. But yes, you got to be careful of evil, like absolutely evil people. They, most of anyone, need to, cultivate virtue within themselves, cultivate goodness and such. Because what happens when someone gets powerful, but they are still evil, or they are still, childish? By that I mean immature, naive, etc., and gains a position of power in society. They start to impose their illness upon many, many people. So the higher up you get in the ladder, the more virtue you need to practice, the more temperance, to balance things, to balance, to moderate. If you become a leader of somewhere, something, someone, someplace, you need to have very strong morals, because otherwise evil will come in and try to, undermine you. Or maybe it'll just come through the front door. It's a bit like if you own a shop, you need to be armed and you need to know how to, defend yourself. This is why, for example, some people think they want to be king, they want to be the ruler, they think it's a good thing to be this way. The way that I see it is that I'll rule myself and I'll rule my own world and one day my own family and such, so to speak, but ultimately, heavy is head which wears the crown. I do not wish to be the king of, the world. I would only take it upon myself if, it's kind of fated or destined or something. I think that's one good thing, on the hand of moderation, you should hold that idea. And on the other hand, you should hold the idea that you need to be the king of what you are responsible for. If you own a house, you are the king of that house. Sadly, of course, we get technical and we talk about land taxes and such. You actually don't, but you know what I mean. You need to be the one responsible for it. And sometimes, for example, some people don't take care of their house or their family, their children and such. You may have to take care of them, be responsible for someone's house, someone's children even, someone's family, someone's, possessions or something like that, because otherwise it is just going to fall into decay. Of course, again, we come back to temperance, which is the balancing board of virtue. If you feed a beggar, ultimately you are only harming them in the long run. If you give them money, you are harming them, because that beggar needs to learn to pay their own bills with some kind of work, some kind of service, some kind of, business and trade and such. Otherwise, they will be harmed in the long run. You need to pull back, maybe excessively helping another person, taking responsibility for their life, for their possessions, for their family, their children, etc., the pets maybe, is not correct. You have to be the one that makes the choice. And as I said, with having to discipline people, you got to make these hard decisions sometimes. Maybe you watch as a house or a car falls into a destroyed state because you need the other person to acknowledge their own laziness and failure, because you need another person to learn their own lessons. So what I mean by that is you can't be cheating people outside of their lessons, outside of the things they need to do. And our lessons are simply just what is hard to do. What can't you do? Do you have trouble? And again, break life down into its areas. There's your home, there's your money, your career, which is related to money. There's your family, there's your relationships, your intimate relationships. There's your emotions, your mind, your hobbies, your projects, etc. What is hard for you in life? Your lessons in this life is simply just to overcome and to better that. If you have trouble with money, your lesson is to get better with money. If maybe you have trouble learning with education, that is a lesson, that's a mission, a goal. You need to do better with that. And if you just say you're a teacher and one of your students is having trouble learning, or most of your classes failed a test, it would be a disservice to allow them all to pass that test just because they all failed together. Instead, while it is harsh, again, within the hand of evil, we must use the hand of evil instead of kindness, because in this context, using the hands of evil is the kindest option. You must instead say to those students that you all need to study more. You all need to take it again. Do this in your own time so that they learn themselves, because otherwise you remove them from learning whatever things they may have needed to learn. Assumingly that in this context, the schoolwork is, something they actually need to know. So anyway, I'll leave it there. This one is, again, you might think, maybe if you're a bit younger or simple-minded, that if you hear the word virtue, you should just say, be a good person, follow the rules, be kind and happy and nice and such. The reality is that is not. Kindness is a poison to those who need restraint. Restraint and restriction is a poison to those who need wings to fly. Through understanding how to access both of the good and the bad, you can practice virtue. Practice, what is good for the world, for yourself. And you'll learn, I'm sure you already have figured most of this stuff out. Probably as you get older, you get more experience. As we're young, we just think one way. As we get older, we think two ways. And as we get much more older, well, maybe we start to think three ways, who knows? Something like that. Anyway, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Of course, have a good day, and feel free to check the links in the description if you're interested in social and commercial things. Goodbye.